Have you ever eaten fondue and asked yourself why? Well, I'm going to tell you. This is the story of the Swiss Cheese Union, a mafia-like cheese cartel that flooded the world with cheese. And I will do so in the time it takes me to prepare this microwave fondue. This is Switzerland Says Sorry. It is midnight and my toddler is sleeping next door. This is the time when I usually come alive and make terrible decisions about my diet, like this guilty pleasure. Back in the 19th century, Switzerland was the global cheesemaker, a cholesterol wonderland. We invented processed cheese to prevent it getting spoiled when sent to the tropics. But we didn't just export cheese, we taught the world to make it. It's the only time I get patriotic when I talk about cheese. My Swiss heart melts when I think about fondue. But then World War I broke out. Switzerland survived as it was neutral. The only problem, our customers were gone. So in order to protect our cheesemakers, a temporary cartel was formed. Prices were fixed and farmers could continue churning out lumps of lactose loveliness. You might ask yourself, price fixing and a state-controlled economy? That sounds like communism. And you're right. Some countries were banana republics, but only Switzerland had cheese communism. After the war, everybody got so used to this arrangement that they decided to make it permanent. And so in 1920, the Swiss Cheese Union was born. It protected the farmers not only from the effects of the Great Depression, but also during the Second World War. And that went on until the 1950s, when everything went horribly, horribly wrong. Ooh. For the perfect microwave fondue, you have to take it out after 1.5 minutes, give it a good stir and put it back in. By the way, why is it called fondue? Because it's fun to do. Ooh. In the 1950s, global cheese prices collapsed. So in order to keep our cheesemakers afloat, the Swiss government had to give them more and more annual subsidies. At one point, Switzerland was spending more money on cheese than on the military. Yes, we weaponized cheese. And the quality suffered too. 100 years earlier, every valley had its own specific little cheese variety. But thanks to the union, production was mostly reduced to 3 kinds. Sprinz, the hard one, Emmentaler, the one no one likes, and Gruyère, the actually good one. So with demand dwindling, the union had to find a way to get rid of all the surplus cheese nobody wanted. The solution? They invented fondue, a way to flood the world with all our unwanted cheese. Because when we Swiss want to get rid of something, we melt it. Fondue, raclette, Nazi gold. Quick side note, yes, fondue existed long before the Swiss Cheese Union, but it was never really a thing, just a small regional tradition. It was the union that made fondue and raclette go mainstream, helped by global PR campaigns, commercials, and those sexy ski suits. And of course you had to get a fondue pot. Its Swiss name sounds like a French person swearing. Caclon! Switzerland and the world got hooked on melted cheese. It worked for a while, but after a few corruption and bribery scandals at the end of the last century, the union finally got dissolved. But no matter how much the world changes, we Swiss keep making cheese. After the annexation of Crimea in 2014, Switzerland was the only country in Europe still exporting cheese to Russia. As the only ones not imposing sanctions on Putin, we were able to export 6 times as much cheese as before. Jesus! So, what's next? Germany just cancelled the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project. Why not buy it and use the pipeline to pump fondue straight to Moscow? Haha! Because the cheese must flow. Fondue has conquered the world. You have eaten it, I know. You have a caclon somewhere at home collecting dust. You are a victim to the Fondue Conspiracy. And for this, we're sorry.
This is not a message from the Swiss government. It's merely a satirical device and is in no way legally binding.
Thanks for all the lovely responses to the last video. And thanks for the hundreds of suggestions for things Switzerland should apologize for. Keep them coming.